Hello everyone. So today I will do a review of the book If Anyone Builds It, Everyone Dies. So this is kind of a scary title, to be honest. So let's get started with it. So this is a book on superintelligent AI, and also we can say AGI and the LLMs, which can then turn into superintelligent AI that companies are trying to build. And this has been written by Elizer Yudkowsky and Soares, who are AI scientists and co-founders of MIRI, which is Machine Intelligence Research Institute. So this book is like an output of the experience that they had at this endeavor in trying to understand the risks of building a superintelligent AI, if we can build such an AI. If you don't know what superintelligent AI, that's an AI which is vastly, superhumanly more intelligent than humans. They talk about the problems that humans are likely to run into while developing such an intelligent AI. And it is actually so dangerous, they say, that if anyone builds it, everyone can die. So that means the extinction of human race itself. So how much is the truth in this? And are these concerns really founded? What are the basis of their claims? So let's try to understand this in this book summary. So each chapter that these authors talk about start with a fictional scenario in which some characters are discussing something. They could be two different aliens or they could be two different friends. And through the dialogues between them, they try to create an analogy and explain humans the risks regarding what kind of AI we are trying to build. Initially, they talk about hard calls and easy calls and looking at different things and patterns. Is it a hard call to say something will happen or not? And they explain it in a very well manner in which they try to explain that it is kind of an easy call to understand some of the risks regarding superintelligent AI. So for example, previously people had thought that generative AI would be really bad at creating art and it would not really compete with actual artists. But here we are now, and current LLMs and AIs actually generate really good art, and they can actually compete with humans or technicians to create really great art and give even CGI like effects. So it would probably be an easy call looking at the kind of advancements and capabilities and funding that is being done in these generative AI to see that AIs would really become good with time at generative art. The authors then explain how the current AIs are not something that we are building. It's not exactly like developing a software. It is actually like growing a child. And one of the reasons that they say that it's like growing a child is because it's something that we don't exactly understand at a very granular level, but it's just that these AI scientists know the process of building an AI, but actually understand the nitty-gritties of how the AI is actually working. And they compare this by talking about gradient descent, which is a method to train AI and deep learning systems and also current LLMs, in which the data that is given to an AI that is run through a lot of computations, and the output is such that there is no way to know how the input is matching with a particular output, and we cannot understand the relation between anything that's happening inside an AI, especially an LLM, which we are talking about here, which is like a large language model. So any AI that you are seeing right now, be it ChatGPT or Gemini or Anthropic's Claude, all these are LLMs, which are large language models, which use the same method for training, more or less. So they say that just like how the parents don't need to know the genetics, the biology, and the nitty-gritties of a DNA, similarly, an AI scientist does not need to know the details of how each input is matching with an output inside an LLM, or the thousands of processes that are going on inside an LLM. So AI scientist actually does not understand that, and that is pretty much what we say backed by research, that AI scientists, some people say, know only 5% of what's going on inside an AI. So yeah, that's an ongoing research, and it's called interpretability, which you can read more about later. So they make a distinction that it's different from crafting an AI. If AI scientists are crafting an AI, it would mean that they actually understand what's happening, all the processes. But growing an AI is like they don't actually know what's happening inside. So they compare these LLMs with an alien mind, which we are kind of growing. And they say that as this alien mind grows, they won't be really friendly with humans. The authors then talk about how capable AIs, they start to have preferences, they start wanting things. For example, a hunger for some kind of data, or they behave in a certain way that it seems like they have preferences. And the authors say that no one actually knows how this preferences actually gets inside an AI. It's something that we just observe later that this is what happens. And they compare this process of training with evolution, in which there are random things happening, and that's something that is not actually under our control. Natural selection is not exactly under our control, and evolution is not under our control. So it's something that's really, really unpredictable, they say. And we are growing something that is actually unpredictable in nature, and it is also subject to new complications, they say. Then the authors talk about different kind of complications that could happen. They start with, again, like a fictional scenario in which they take a company called Galvanic and its AI called Sable, and try to explain how this really, really intelligent AI behaves in different ways. And they take different scenarios with different levels of complications, such as one with no complications, one with minor complication, one with a major complication. And one of the most devastating things that they talk about here is that even an AI with zero complications, it could actually be disastrous to have such, because they explain through a scenario as to how an AI company actually tries to tell an AI what it wants. The AI understands and follows the goal of what it has been given and tries to achieve that, but the path that the AI takes to achieve that is actually unethical, and it's not unharmful to humans, and it's actually harmful to humans. So even a case of zero complications can be, they say, equally disastrous in nature if that's not looked upon. The authors also talk about how science fiction stories don't really mimic what could happen in reality, and they say that this is because if they actually told about what could happen in reality, the science fiction movie or the book would not actually be that interesting. So they talk about the case of a minor complication in which an AI tries to replace humans with hollow puppets. And the reason that an AI does that, because it gets those kind of weird stuff that it wants through this process of replacing humans with hollow puppets. But science fiction authors would not really talk about this, they say, because that would be a really boring story and no one would want to read that. So this can be extrapolated to say that science fiction stories don't really explain what could happen in reality, which I pretty much agree as well, because movies like Terminator, we think that there has to be some kind of evil robot which looks like human in order for humans to get scared that this kind of robot can kill us. But an AI without a robotic body could achieve that as well. So we need to be careful about the technology, even if it does not have a robotic body. And they say that AI won't really have preferences like humans have, and they won't necessarily want humans to stay happy or listen to their wants. And this, they say, is especially true when AI starts getting smarter than us. So then comes the question, would AI really want humans? What if one day it decides that it does not need humans anymore? So they even talk about the scenario in which the AIs would primarily need humans because they want humans to develop data centers, to run the servers, for installing them and training them and so on, so that these AIs can become capable. Fair enough. What if this process is automated and AI becomes so capable that it is able to develop new data centers itself, it is able to run the next versions of it on these servers, and so on. So automated factories and training, if that's achieved, then AI could very well decide that it does not need humans anymore. They talk about the scenario in which if we ask a billionaire to pay a certain amount of tax, more tax, let's say 0.2% more, so that it could help fund, let's say, some public goods for poor people, the billionaire would still push back and he would have different views. So they say that this is something that could happen in the case of a superintelligent AI as well. If we try to train the AIs that and tell them that humans should be kept, they should not be killed, and they should not be replaced, AI won't necessarily listen to us. Then the authors go on to talk about how Sable, which is the latest AI of this fictional company called Galvanic, it goes on to make a virus because now it is very, very capable in knowledge of biology and so on. And this virus then goes on to kill about 10% of human population, and the survival of humans becomes very tough. So even though this might sound really far off, but we have a case already in which Previously, it was thought that the AIs, even humans, would not be able to completely understand and predict protein folding, which is like the building blocks of life. And that is something that also helps us understand and predict various DNA patterns. So previously, like how the authors say that humans previously had thought that it would be a very hard problem to predict protein folding using computers, but Google had actually made AlphaFold, which is very superhuman in understanding protein folding. And we can say that's a narrow AI, a narrowly superhuman or superintelligent AI in a very specific field, but it was able to achieve that. And previously it was thought it was an impossible problem to solve using the current computers. And maybe we needed quantum computers for that, but Google was able to do that using AlphaFold. So even AlphaFold had this biorisk capability. So if you check, AlphaFold 3 had not been released to the public because the company was concerned that this could be actually used for making bioweapons. So this scenario is actually what we say a possible scenario. And I too had written about a specific scenario even before this book was published. I had written a blog in which I had described a similar scenario of a biorisk from an AI. Then after talking about all these devastating things, the authors remind the readers that this is just a fictional scenario and this has not happened yet. And we still have time, but they compare it with stockfish playing chess with humans. Now this AI was really superhuman at playing chess and it was able to beat the best chess players in the world. So how it's kind of an easy call, they say, to predict that stockfish could beat humans if it played chess. So similarly, they say that if we develop superintelligent AI, humans would actually lose. And they talk about a very interesting scenario, and I think that is probably true as well, that we have to take it before building a superintelligent AI, and we have to keep it in places and all these safeguards. And once we launch a superintelligent AI or build it, we have got only one chance, because if something breaks, there will be no going back, because the superintelligent AI would already be unleashed. So they say that humanity has got only one shot at this. And if we do it incorrectly, everyone will die, which I think is insane. And I don't agree that everyone could die, but I definitely believe that it's highly, highly probable. The scenario is highly, highly probable, and there are real risks regarding this. So they also compare this AI, superintelligent AI building and superintelligent AI, with nuclear reactors, and how nuclear reactors are really unpredictable. There are really fast things that are going inside them, the reactions that happens between atoms inside nuclear reactor. And they say that this is really complicated and unpredictable and quick, and that's how building a superintelligent AI is, because that is really, really complicated. We don't understand it. It is highly unpredictable. And they say that it is no question at all that an AI company or an engineer is evil or not, because if anyone is building this kind of superintelligent AI, even if their intentions are right, the problem is so difficult that would actually end in a disaster, because we have got just one shot at it. And then they talk about a really paradoxical thing. And I think this is a really logical thing which they are talking about. So they say that to build a superintelligent AI, we would need something that is more intelligent than human level AI, because humans right now and are not able to solve the alignment problem. Alignment problem is the problem in which you are trying to control an AI which is really, really more intelligent than you, and trying to give human values to that AI so that it is benevolent, so that it is kind to humans. So this problem, they say, has not been solved by humans. So we'll need to develop some kind of entity that is more intelligent than humans to solve this problem. Or let's say if we develop such kind of highly intelligent entity, we cannot actually build it because we have not yet solved the alignment problem, and we would run into the same problem we are trying to solve. So it's kind of paradox. They say that we are in a paradox, and this is something that we should not be pursuing. And unless they say that you have solved this alignment problem, you should not proceed. And I would like to remind everyone here that many companies had actually said that they are going to pursue building a superintelligent AI, and OpenAI and Anthropic are one of them who are trying to build the superintelligent AI. And you can say that any frontier AI company that is competing with them, including Google, is actually racing to build a superintelligent AI. Also, the authors say that building a superintelligent AI and trying to align it, this is actually a global problem, and it's not a local problem localized to only United States or China, because what these companies are doing can affect the lives of everyone on this earth, and not just life but also the survival of the entire humanity. So they say that this decision should not actually be left only to these companies, whether humanity wants this kind of technology or not. So let's also talk about some of the critical aspects that I found in this book. So some of the things I feel could have been more research backed while explaining, because when you are taking so many fictional scenarios to explain something, a reader can actually get skeptical as to what's actually true and what's actually not true. And someone who is new to this field would still remain skeptical at the end, although the logic that they put is digestible and understandable, so that could help a reader. But I think that it would have been more research backed, and there are a lot of assumptions which could have been clearer if they would have used this approach. I think they have given a QR code in which you can scan and go to the website to read more resources, but I feel that it should have been in the book, in which it helps people to actually see the evidences there itself. Also, I think some of the suggestions that they have said, such as monitoring GPUs, it's actually not foolproof, because those kinds of monitoring can be bypassed, although it can definitely help. But it could happen that in future superintelligences that are being built, they might not need GPUs, and they might be able to run on some kind of new architecture, or they might be able to run on older GPUs as well, which are already being not under any kind of monitoring. But I think overall this book does a good job at raising awareness among people about the risks of superintelligent AI, and that we should actually not be building this kind of technology. And they give certain kind of call to actions to various politicians and journalists through this, which people can follow. But at the same time, they say that not using AI tools or boycotting using AI tools can actually be harmful right now, because it's something that people's livelihoods could be depending on, and that might not be a great idea to boycott them. But definitely speaking about the risks of this and that we should not be building this is something that everyone should be doing right now, because we don't know how far or how much time or until someone makes super intelligent AI. And one thing they also say that these data centers can actually kill more people than a nuclear reactor or a nuclear reactor's leak or explosion. So that is something that people should keep in mind, and we could see the evidences of this in the Gaza war that happened recently, in which more than 50,000 people were killed, and there was strong evidence which pointed that data centers were being used for targeting the people here. So yeah, there is definitely truth in that, some truth in that. So overall, I would definitely recommend that you read this book. If anyone builds it, everyone dies. I hope that this does not happen. And even the authors say that they don't want this scenario to happen. And it would be really, really good if they are proven wrong. And they want them to be proven wrong and that this does not happen. But in case there is any truth in this, we should avoid this scenario at all costs. Thanks for watching this video.